Hello and welcome back to SpriteGuard Plays HyperRogue. We are starting from the beginning once again. Last time we started from the beginning, we took a look at kind of the action-y side of the game, how it looks when you really kind of push yourself to play as fast as you can. We didn't even really look at the limits of that because you can actually turn up the animation speed. When we were doing that, we were limited by the speed of the camera pan. But that's not actually a hard and fast restriction, and I have seen some people do some really amazing things, and tried to do them myself, and had some success, some less success. I managed to get a number 2 time on the leaderboards at one point, which I was pretty proud of. And it's really fun to kind of just push yourself and see, you know, how fast can you play, and still play effectively. But today, I want to look more at the puzzly side of the game, because I was talking to somebody about this game and kind of what makes it special and how to think about it, and how I think about it less as a traditional roguelike and more as kind of a dungeon puzzler like Hoplite. And I think the other one that I was thinking of was Ending. Now this game is a lot more complicated than either of those games, which is a big part of why this is my favorite game and those aren't. And so today I want to look at, you know, one really special thing, which is the navigation puzzles. This game has a really cool balance of insight-based puzzles where you have to figure out, you know, some kind of what you're supposed to do. And in that way, it's very comparable to Myst in that this is the only game I can remember since Myst where I stopped playing, I had a conversation with other people in the community about how to solve some of the puzzles and, you know, what it might take, and had some of those insights based on those conversations. And that's something that is really special, and I really, really love when a game can do that. And so we're going to actually take on one of the challenges that I have not really looked at all, which is the Master Survivalist achievement. Now, to get that, the first thing we need is 100 kills, and so that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And of course, this game throws a lot of tactical puzzles at you, much like Ending, but with a very different flavor because of the shape of the grid. And it's a lot of the same thing of planning out, you know, how are you going to take on the waves of enemies as they come up. And that's something that I've gotten good at in a lot of the kind of more open situations, but still really struggle with in a lot of the kind of tighter, you know, more tense situations. And so we'll continue to try and improve at that, try and build up my skills. And then we need to head into the Haunted Woods, where we are going to try to get 10 Black Lotuses without cutting any trees or placing any dead orbs. So that's going to be incredibly challenging, and we're going to need to think hard about how we approach it. It's not going to be enough to just, you know, wing it. We're going to have a really clear plan. And so I have most of a plan. I have a general idea of what I want to be doing. And so we're going to be taking that on and trying to refine it along the way. But for today, we're going to start out just by laying the groundwork, getting those 100 kills, getting those Phoenix Feathers and Ice Diamonds, so that we are pretty well equipped to take things on. And of course we're going to get into some pretty tense scrapes along the way, because even all these hundreds of hours on, I am still, building up my skill, still learning things in this game, still improving. And that is one of the many, many things I love about it, that it's such a challenging game and has such a high skill ceiling. And, I am not even close to one of the best. There are people who've played this game more hours than I have, who don't talk while they're playing it, and have pulled off feats that I can only dream about. And so, I'm going to keep on building up my skill, maybe never catching up to them. Yeah, we'll see. But, continuing. One of the things that I talk about a lot on Reddit is kind of the way that we think about hard games. And especially Street Fighter, which is a game that's very dear to my heart. I don't play it much anymore because I kind of got burnt out on the competition side of the game. I didn't really like, the whole thing of having to defeat my opponents and think about things from the point of view of, one of the articles that you read kind of when you're starting out Street Fighter is called Domination 101. And that is really a pretty good window into why I burned out on Street Fighter. And we do need one more Phoenix Feather here, but when people talk about Street Fighter, a lot of times the criticism that comes up is that it's incredibly hostile to new players because there's so much to learn and everything is so difficult. And the way I kind of present it to people, we're never getting back into this, are we? We're just going to have running dogs coming up. Now, those ones can't get to us, so there we go. We finally managed to get back in. Unfortunately, the no dipping rule is going to force us away from the crossroads. And so we're going to have to find our way to a Phoenix Feather someplace else. And there we go. There's our last Phoenix Feather, so now we're just looking for an exit. And so the way that I tell people to think about it is you are always on the same journey. The goal in any very difficult game is to remain always at the same level of difficulty. So the game should always be presenting you something to work on that is harder than anything you've managed to do and is just barely outside of your abilities. And so when you start up Street Fighter, you don't jump into, one-frame links and FADC stuff. You don't do that because you don't have the fundamentals. And so when you start out playing Street Fighter, all you're focusing on is getting the basics consistent, getting those fireballs, getting those dragon punches consistent. And then when you have those consistent, you start working on getting combos consistent. And you start with simple combos, getting those consistent, really pushing yourself all along to do things that are too hard and very inconsistent. And at the same time, you're working on the mental side, you're working on poking, you're working on mind games. And again, you're starting with, you can barely do anything, and you're just trying to figure it out and build consistency and start to, win the simple games and just get better and better. And so it's really something where you're always on the same journey, because the journey is the destination. There is no such thing as good at Street Fighter. And this game is the same way. It's like you are always on that You're always on that journey. You're always trying to do something that's a little bit too hard, or you always have that available to you. Because this is a single-player game, you have a little bit more choice. You have more opportunity to say, well, this is how I want to play. And so, sometimes I really push myself. I had a video where I was attempting to do an even harder challenge in this game called There and Back Again. And I went for about 20 minutes and then I made a mistake. And so that's something that I want to revisit. But for now, we're going to kind of try and accomplish There and Back Again's slightly less ambitious cousin. So that is all coming up. Let's see, we have 66 kills. We need 100 kills in order to progress. And we also need the necromancer totems. And so that's what we're going to be focusing on in the next episode, probably going into the Icy Land to rack up lots and lots of kills very quickly, and then we'll be making our way into the graveyard and the haunted woods. So I'm really looking forward to that. All that is coming up in the next episode. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.